Good afternoon, Summit View Elementary. As you know, my name is Hannah Legge, and I am your principal this year. Today's PD is going to be, when it comes up, focusing on um, ensuring equity and inclusion for our students. A gap many of you have expressed to me that is definitely worth tackling is really feeling inadequate when it comes to assisting our diverse population, especially their parents, with certain issues that have to do with any maybe like a language barrier or a socioeconomic barrier. So we are going to discuss what the plan is moving forward to make sure that we're really doing our job and being a resource to the community around us. So building bridges with families. This is our culturally responsive outreach plan. So I'm sure you guys already know this, but if you are unfamiliar, we're going to talk about why this should matter to you. Um, as you know, our student population represents many ethnicities, languages, countries of origin, religions, and even and many socioeconomic backgrounds. From people who make a ton more money than we do, and people who make a lot less than we do. In the initial survey that I sent out at the beginning of the year, it showed that you all had limited understanding of parent barriers. And you felt like you had inadequate skills when supporting our families, as well as a lack of confidence in engaging with parents. So I really want you to feel supported in that, especially given the fact that, we may be speaking with people that have had a completely different life than we have. I want you to know that it's very important that we put that on the forefront of our priorities in the years to come. Because before academic change can occur, we need to build relationships and trust with the families in our community. So, yeah, let's get into it here. Um, so here are kind of what we all need to be on the same page about before we can move forward. It's important that we all have the same vision when accomplishing this goal in the next 1 to 3 years. So we need to commit to the belief that every cultural background is an asset, not an obstacle. So at the doors when you walk in, you need to set aside any of your personal beliefs and understand that as teachers and educators, you are in the role of accepting everybody um, who walks through those doors and accepting the baggage that they bring as well. High expectations apply to all students, families, and staff. This is part of our culture, right? We need to make sure that parents feel confident that their student is going to receive the best education because the staff has high expectations. But along with that, I want you to know that those high expectations are extended toward to the community as well. We want to make sure that we all work together as a team with an even playing field of high expectations. Equity is a daily practice, not a checklist item. As I said before, it's important that we realize everybody who walks through the door is accepted, and we deal with their baggage or differences. I shouldn't say baggage. Their differences as they walk through the door one by one. And we're going to work on how to do this confidently. And then cultural competence must be visible in our conversations, decisions, and systems. A lot of you guys emphasize that you did not, it's not that you don't want to serve these parents and children in the best way possible. It's just that you don't know how. So we're going to work on that. Let's see. So right now, we are in the data collection phase. So we've started that with our first survey. So we're also going to send out a parent needs assessment that we're going to have translated in the top 5 languages that are present here at this school. I believe it's Spanish, Arabic, English, German, and Portuguese. So we're going to make sure that all of those people have access to this, so that way when they're reading it, they're not asking their son, their child to translate it for them, and therefore the data gets skewed for whatever reason. So that's one way we're going to take a barrier away. However, there still are some. Okay. Transportation is always a barrier. Work hours, right? Do they have the time? Language, I'm hoping that we get all of our people with these languages, but there's no way to be certain, um, especially when those are the five that the paperwork says. Technology, right? Do they have access to a computer or a phone that can actually handle the program? And then, of course, trusting their responses. Okay. Um, and then we're going to do some community asset mapping. So it's really important to understand that when we are a school, a public institution, we are part of a community. A lot of people think that when you're a school, you operate as your own, but it's very important to ensure that you have community partners because you can't do this alone. You can never create a good culture at a school on your own. So we're going to be looking at some faith groups, cultural organizations, and local businesses. And if there are any of you that are aware of a local business or any of these certain groups that want to partner with us, send me an email, send the AP an email, and let us know because every small business and community around us has something to offer our school. And when students see parts of their community walk through those doors, they automatically feel a sense of home. So that's very important. We're going to create a parent involvement map. This is going to be done by grade level, so my grade level leads are going to handle this. We're going to make sure that we know the ethnicity, the home language, and economic status of our grade level so that we're able to properly identify who can be involved. And then you're going to be sent a second survey, I think in the next 30 days here, that is a deeper dive into our cultural perceptions and blind spots. So the one that was previously sent to you was kind of like a baseline. So as we're collecting more data and I'm learning more about the community, we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So once we have all of our data, what are we going to look for? One of the biggest things we're going to look for is which families are not participating, and we're going to want to know why. We can start with talking to the students, and if the students are unaware, then we're going to have to make phone calls. But just making sure, excuse me, we're getting everybody's participation. Are the communication methods equitable, right? So, for example, if we have a family that does not have access to a computer, are we able to mail it to them? Are we able to send it home with them? Do the parents struggle with reading and writing? How can we get them to take the survey? Maybe come to the school and we can have them take it orally, right? We need to have options. Are there any groups that are unintentionally excluded? So this is where I'm going to need you guys to go over the survey that we're going to send out and let me know if I'm missing something. You guys know your students best. So if you're aware of a student that is dealing with some exclusionary difficulties, I would really appreciate if you let me know. And then again, back to our assets in our community. We really need to find these because, as I said previously, when a student sees their favorite owners of the restaurant down the road walk in to do some catering, or the store owner, donating some resources, that's really important. Okay. So our action plan, right? Once we've collected the data. So right now we're really in action area 1. Okay. Even now, we're building the staff capacity for cultural responsiveness. So while you guys have, open hearts and you really want to make sure that you're there for your students, you need to know how to act given certain scenarios. So, and today's the beginning of that. So, That's action area number one. And once we finish this and our staff is properly trained and we have all of our data, we're going to be able to move on to action area two, which is to reimagine our communication and access for families. I wanted to give a little bit more detail on this section because this is really the bread and butter of this situation. But until we have the data and we, understand our community a little bit more, we won't be able to get into the nitty gritty of this. And then we'll move on to action area three, which is an ongoing action, right? But to create a welcoming, trust building parent engagement system. So this is ever evolving. This is always continuing, and we'll be stuck in action three, hopefully, for a while. So let's dive deeper into our different actions. So the goal of action one right now is to equip staff with knowledge, tools, and confidence to engage with all parents. Okay. So we're going to roll out a culturally responsive PD series. We're going to talk about bias awareness, cultural assets, community storytelling, and cross-cultural communication. We're going to have a parent panel called Hear Our Voice. It's a session, we're going to have it after school during an open house, where parents are going to share their experiences with staff, just talking about some difficulties that they've had, and talk about, where they come from, what their culture looks like, how it impacts their child, and lots of good stuff there. I'm very, very excited for that. We're going to have, how there's like Black History Month and Hispanic Heritage Month. We're going to do that for all of the cultures represented at our school. I think I think we have a child from Sri Lanka. We're going to celebrate them, right? So that's going to be really, really fun. And then during our PDs, you guys will have a teacher reflection that you'll have to fill out at the end. It's really just, it's more so all about you, and how you're feeling about this, what you've learned, what your takeaways are. So yeah, so we have two goals. We have a short-term goal, which is all teachers participate in at least 2 PD sessions and complete a self-assessment. So the reason I say at least 2 is because I know that sometimes you guys have required PDs from the district, but it's important that during this series, you need to be there for at least 2 of them. And then our long-term goal is cultural competence becomes institutionalized in planning, communication, and daily practice, right? I want to make it so it's just the norm. And again, that's very important as we start to build our community. Back up. Action step 2, right? This is a couple months away probably, is to remove barriers and redesign our communication systems. So I said previously, I have kind of a bare bones idea, but to translate all of our communication, have not just one mode of communication, but multiple. I know at my previous school, it was like not Power School. There was some app, but the thing is we need to use multiple so people can access the information easily in the way that they prefer. Parent concierge hours. So we're going to have evening or weekend times with interpreters on site. I'm thinking that we'll do that on Thursdays since that's our late day. And then transportation and childcare supports for parent meetings. So at meetings, again, I want to reach out to our community and provide the information for these things, because without having the information, they'll never know that they have these things available to them. And then our family welcome center, it's going to be in the front office, and with our wonderful, beautiful, already bilingual staff, which I'm super grateful for. So they'll be in there assisting when needed. So we have 2 goals here again. Our short-term goal is to increase parent responses on surveys and participation in classroom or just school events in general. And then establish a communication system where all parents receive and understand information without barriers. So again, making sure they're feeling comfortable engaging with the school because they're getting that proper communication type. Alrighty, our last but our favorite, and what we're trying to build up to, which is action area 3, creating a welcoming, trust building engagement system. So the goal is to build the long-term relational partnerships between school and families. So how we're going to do that, cultural welcome night and community festivals. Again, this is long-term, y'all. Parent learning workshops, literacy nights, math strategies, and navigating school processes. Parent leadership teams, right? This will be our version of the PTO or PTA. Room Parent Partners Program, again, part of the PTA, parents coming in to help us during the week. And then community walks, teachers visiting neighborhoods to build trust. This is, again, long term, right? I'd like to get here maybe starting in the second semester. But this is going to really take all of us, and I think we can do it. So our short-term goal here is to establish PLTs and host first cultural event by the end of the semester. This is flexible, but it does need to happen, right, before testing season. And then sustain parent leadership roles and integrate parent expertise into school decision making, right? So making sure that all of our stakeholders, including our parents and students, feel represented in the decisions made here on campus. So how are we going to measure success? How will we know that we are being successful? Having parents attend these events, right? It'll be great. There's growth in our competency survey numbers. There's growth in our number of translated communications across all platforms, participation in workshops for teachers and parents, and then, of course, requesting feedback for those events from parents as well. So I wanted to kind of tell you guys what our goal in 1 to 3 years is going to look like. So parents serve on-campus committees and decision-making teams. Cultural celebrations become annual traditions, right? Oh, next year I'm so looking forward to the, Indian Heritage Festival in April or whatever, and it happens every year without a doubt, right? Staff demonstrates cultural competence consistently, working on those surveys, and not only just working to get it right, but working to stretch our learning and becoming experts in the realm of culture. Parents report feeling welcome, respected, and heard, right? Parent involvement increases across all demographic groups, and equity becomes a school-wide core value. So what's next? We've got PD session number 1, which launches next month. So remember, you have to go to at least 2 of them. The surveys for the parents go out this week. And then our beautiful, wonderful Parent Welcome Center will open next month. So again, I'm looking forward to receiving any emails with information that you guys have about different community partners that we could integrate into this. And I just want to end this with some food for thought. The problem with our education system is not that parents do not have a choice. The problem is that inequities continue to exist. So let's take that barrier away from our children and work together as a team so we can ensure that a Summit View Elementary is the best choice for our students, parents, and community. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.